Yo, what's going on? What's going on? It is late night. It's 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we talking finances late night. But this is the finance conversation where you're gonna get the real topics, the real point of view, not everything that's a little too structured. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Shout out to the over 2,300 subscribers to the channel. I'm Marcus, also known as DFD, Debt Free Dad. I'm a licensed attorney, but hey, this is legal or financial advice, just giving my opinion, my take on topics, and letting y'all know also what moves we are making on my family's financial freedom journey as we are looking to become first generation millionaires. So, this is going to be an interesting video, okay? Now, I'm gonna just cover some tips and ways that you can legally pay less in child support. Now, if you are watching this video and you like, you know what, I'm not damn them kids, I'm not giving them anything. This isn't the video for y'all losers. This is the video for people who, want to provide for their kids because you can pay more or too much in child support. And if a man or a woman pays too much in child support, that is not only detrimental to them, but it also can become detrimental to the child. So I want to just talk about some of the things that I've seen in my experience doing the child support side. Now, before we dive in, because we got some cool videos we're gonna take a look at. But before we dive into the topic, I wanted to just give you all my background on how I do child support because I talk finance. I would say my area of expertise is litigation, financial crimes, investigations, civil litigation, all of that stuff. So DFD, how the hell do you know about child support? So let me explain my child support experience. Okay, early on as a young attorney, just passing the bar, for the first 8 to 12 months, I worked with a solo practitioner who performed family law services. Now, in that role, I was a part of divorce proceedings, settlement agreements, all of the typical things that you see in that family law arena. And one thing I realized early on was that, man, family law suck ass. Like, yo, it's just for me, it was just way too much emotions involved. I would actually rather deal with someone who's charged with a crime who is looking at facing 25, 30 years as opposed to a husband and wife who both hate each other guts and they being spiteful. That's just me. That's just my opinion. So I did that for about a year. For the next 3.5 years, I worked as a public defender. Now, when do you get a public defender and how the hell does that spend into child support? Okay, most times is a few qualifications for you to get a public defender. One, you have to be broke as hell. You have to display to the court that you're indigent. You don't have any money. You can't afford an attorney on your own. And you have to be looking at some potential jail exposure. You could do time. You could go to jail and or prison. Then you'll qualify for a public defender. So this is the context of how I got experience doing child support law. Not in the, I wouldn't say it was the typical family law thing, but a person goes through the family court system, the court enters a child support order, the individual, 97.9% of the time, it was a father, couldn't pay the child support order, comply with it, so he would be held in contempt of court because why would he be held in contempt of court? Because he's not complying with the court's order. They bring him back. When you're held in contempt of court for not complying with that child support order, you could be looking at doing some jail time so you can get a court-appointed attorney or a public defender to represent you in that child support case. So that's how I kind of got my experience for that 3.5, almost 4 years in child support court. People had a child support order. Something fell apart along the lines. I don't know if it was they lost their job or their baby mother started wilding out and wanted more. But at some point in time, the person likely got into arrears. They were held in contempt of court. They were looking at jail time. They couldn't afford an attorney. I would be appointed to the case, so I had to facilitate that child support hearing to one, make sure they don't go in custody, because that was the first and most important thing. But two, see if we can work out and restructure the child support order in and of itself to make it more feasible. So in doing this, a lot of times, because I mean, I've seen it all the time, and hey, ladies, this video is valuable to you as well. But probably 90% of the clients I had when I was doing child support, it was guys, it was the fellas. Let's just keep it a buck. Most times it was the fellas who were caught up in child support. And so that's how I would end up representing them on a child support matter, because they were looking at jail time. And let's just think from a common sense standpoint, how does that benefit anybody if the person who's paying child support is actually, or making an attempt to pay child support, is actually incarcerated? So that is kind of the child support experience that I wanted to give out there. So I wanted to talk about, a lot of times that would involve me, because guys will be in the office. When you're about to could be looking at potential jail time and being incarcerated, man, that's emotional, that's stressful. I had guys in my office bawling tears and everything. And a lot of times they couldn't even explain to me how the family law proceeding and the child support even got to this point where they're held in contempt. So a lot of times I would actually have to go back to, one, look through the court records, but two, if they actually had an attorney, I would have to go back and talk and touch bases with that attorney just to get some clarity, some granularity on what happened. How did we get from family court, child support, to now this person potentially looking at jail time? And so we've seen all the horror stories that relate to child support. I know y'all seen the horror stories of, you had some where a guy, after paying for 18, 21 years, realized that the DNA test proved that the kid isn't his. So I wanted to start it off with a video, probably for me, what I think is the most egregious child support case that I've ever seen, just kind of in history. Now, this one got some age on it, but I'm not going to say it's an oldie but goodie, because it wasn't good for him. But let's take out this 2-minute clip. And then after we watch this clip, I'm going to give y'all an update on this gentleman, what actually happened. And then I'm going to dive into the things that I've seen that, one, you probably should avoid, but can also help you reduce your child support legally. So let's go and dive in. I'm going to get this video queued up. Gotta make sure that volume gain is all the way up.
Facing 180 days in jail for overpaying his child support and over visiting his 11-year-old son. His attorney and a community activist are now demanding answers. Randy Wallace joins us live with a story you'll see only on Fox. Randy?
Don, we all expect to see judges throw the book at fathers who fail to pay child support. But a father who says he's been doing the right thing now has an arrest warrant against him.
It's my responsibility to take care of it. I brought him in this world. I have to.
Clifford Hall says he's more than happy to pay child support for his 11-year-old son.
It's my responsibility to take care of it.
But Hall says when the amount of child support was modified, no one told him.
And I discovered that for some reason, his employer was withholding a large amount some weeks, a small amount some weeks, zero amount some weeks.
And I didn't want to go to jail.
Quickly paid almost $3,000 in back child support. When Hall and his ex-wife were in Judge Lisa Millard's court last November, he owed nothing.
Opposing counsel testified twice that he's all paid up.
But the attorney representing the child's mother wanted Hall to pay her $3,000 in attorney fees. And Judge Millard agreed. Court documents also reveal Hall wasn't following the court's scheduled times to pick up his son. Another modification he says he knew nothing about.
The judge ended up sentencing him to 6 months in jail.
When she said, I remand you to the Harris County Jail for 180 days, my mouth just dropped.
This entire situation is shocking to me. I've never seen one like this.
Quanell X is pissed, as he should be. I'm sorry, that name is hilarious. But as he should be, because this is crazy. The guy paid over child support and wasn't complying with the visitation schedule in the court order. So let's go and finish
Activist
this up.
Cornell X wants the state's judicial board to investigate.
The court failed the child. The court failed Mr. Hall. The system broke down.
I can't be there for my son in jail. I can't pay child support in jail. You know, this is not in the best interest of the child.
Judge Lisa Millard says Hall walked out of court after he was found in contempt, which she says is a big no-no. Judge Millard also points out Hall's attorney could have filed a motion for reconsideration. She says that would have allowed her to hear both sides again and reevaluate the situation. Hall's attorney is now working on an appeal, and in a few days, Hall plans to turn himself in, and Don will, of course, keep everybody posted on how.
So that story was crazy as hell. I mean, like that is probably the wildest story I heard with somebody dealing with child support. And there's a couple of failures in that system just off the break. I think the first thing I would say is, fellas, and I know, I can't, what is the best way I can say this? Fellas, sometimes you gotta be careful with the women that you have children with, okay? And it can actually be a cool relationship, but if something go bad, that could just trigger a switch. We already know how that is, but there's no reason that this guy should have been back in court. Absolutely no reason at all. And I'm going to go ahead and agree with Brother X on this one. I think Brother Cornell X was right. That judge should have had some review by the Judiciary Committee, because that definitely wasn't in the best interest of the child. Now, fast forward in that story, because that story has some gray hairs on it, but I thought that was the most egregious, ridiculous example I've seen of something that was actually related to child support. Now, fast forward in that story, the brother got sentenced to 180 days. He ended up only spending somewhere between, I think, 5 to 7 days in custody before he was released and able to get things resolved. What happened in that 5 to 7 things? What do y'all think happened in 5 to 7 days? If you were, working guy, trying to pay off your child support, they say you got 6 months, you end up doing 5 to 7 days. This brother ended up losing his job, which puts more strain on the family, more strain on the child. So I thought that was the most egregious thing that I've ever saw. I've never seen anything that crazy and egregious. Damn sure not on any of my cases, because that's absurd. I'd have raised hell. We both would have been in contempt of court. But I never seen anything that egregious, but that was the worst case I saw. So I'm going to go through this list of things that you can do to, one, lower your child support legally, and things you should just keep an eye out for to make sure that your child support payments are fair. Because if you're overpaying in child support, I don't care if you're a man or woman, if you're overpaying in child support because you're paying too much, that doesn't put you in a good financial position, and it puts you in a position where you're making yourself susceptible to potentially being in arrears, getting behind, and having to worry about the incarceration and all the other crazy ass stuff that can happen that we're going to talk about. Now, I got another video clip that's a little bit long, but we're going to dive into it after I go through this, because I want to give the meat and potatoes first before we have fun and look at this hearing, okay? So the number one thing, and I think this is an easy rule of thumb for everybody, the number one thing to do when you're in court for something like this is hire an attorney. You would be amazed at how many times I'm sitting over with my client to address child support issues. And I mean, like I tell you, like clockwork, most of the people who was in there handling their affairs on their own. That's definitely a no-go. I'm an attorney. If I were in child support court, or I was in court for any damn thing, I'm going to hire somebody to do it, even if I know what the hell the law is, because that's just a smart thing to do. But the reason that you want to hire an attorney is because there are certain credits that you can get that will reduce your child support payment, and you aren't going to know all of the credits. And honestly, even if you Google it to find out what the credits were in your particular state, you may not know what credits all would apply to your potential facts or situations. So I think the first thing you got to do is make sure you hire an attorney, because that attorney is going to know all the credits. They can lower your child support payment credits depending on your income. If you have a low income, if there's daycare expenses, if you have a large percentage of custody, all of those things are things that can impact the amount of child that you are obligated to pay. So definitely hire an attorney. The other thing is, and I've seen this all the time, anytime people are in child support court and you're dealing with child support issues, we're not talking about custody, just straight up child support. What you would see a lot of times is everybody knows and want to know what the father makes. Hey, what are you making, Dad? Provide the judge is like, we need the pay stubs, pay statements, W-2s, all of that stuff. You presenting all of this stuff to the court. Everyone wants to verify what the guy's wages and income is, but nobody looks to see and verify and confirm what the income is of the mother or whoever that opposite party is. But we're going to keep it a buck. We're going to talk fellas and ladies. Is all interchangeable, but hey, I'm going to talk about what scenario you are likely to see that I've seen the most. Everybody requires the guy to pull out all his W-2s and everything, but nobody looks into the finances, the income of the woman who is, requesting the child support, who may have put the request in to get child support from the state, who got the whole process started. And that's an important thing to do, because depending on her income, if it's lower or higher, that can help or determine the adjustment of the child support numbers that the guy is obligated to pay. If she makes way more money than him, it could reduce his child support obligation. If she makes less money than him, it could potentially raise it. That's something that you gotta know. And how the hell are you going to get that information? What you gonna do? You can't just, could you imagine just sitting in there begging your ex-girlfriend, your baby mother, like, come on, let me see your W-2. I need to see your W-2 so we can carry it in the court, so we can have full transparency. She is not giving you that shit. It's just, if you think you're gonna ask your baby mother for proof of her income and she's gonna give it to you, hey, sorry for the wishful thinking, but you need to wake the hell up. You are not going to get it. So when you got an attorney, your attorney knows how to use his powers as an officer of court, the powers of the court, to subpoena that information, to get that information, so we can have all the information on the table, so that way it could be a fair assessment of the income of both parties and use that to calculate what the child support payment is going to be. The second thing that I've seen people do all the time is essentially, how is this? Spend more time with your kids, okay? When you spend more time with your children, like I said, when I talked about those credits, that's something that could go to impact the amount of child support that a parent has to pay. Think about it. If you actually spend little or no time with the child, your child support can go up because you don't have any real financial obligation, because you never see the child in the first place. So, hey, if you love your kids, you want to spend time with your kid, try to spend more. Try to get that visitation order to increase the amount of time you spend with the kids. A lot of times, what I've seen cases get worked out to is if a person has 50-50 custody, a lot of instances they pay little to no child support. Now, I'm not saying in all instances, but the amount of child support is greatly reduced when the amount that the father spends with the child is increased. So that's one thing you can do. The other thing is stop giving out gifts, okay? Gifts are not child support. Without fail, literally, especially in cases that are in child support court, every time I was in there, that without fail is some poor guy standing up there with no attorney talking about, oh, I took the kids and my baby mother out to eat, and I came and bought her some groceries, and I bought little man some shoes and a winter coat. And this guy's just up there explaining all of these things that he purchased for the child. And what do you think the court looks at him and say? Yeah, everybody should know this, but the court is going to look at him and say, yo, hey, the gifts was nice, but that is not child support. So gifts, you don't get credit credit for gifts are just that, they're gifts. So, if there's nothing wrong with buying your child gifts, but those gifts that you buy your child or those good things you do aren't going to replace the actual child support order, aren't going to replace the requirement for your child support. I think that's something that it really impacts, and this is a mistake that I see a lot of people make. The other thing is, I gotta go to the list because it was just so much. All right. The other thing is, and I call it like paying child support twice. Okay. Now, if you are paying something outside of a direct child support payment, it has to be something that you can quantify, that you can verify. A Zelle payment would be great. I know back in the day when I was doing it, this was before all the cash exchange, cash app things. But at least there's some way to you do a transfer from your bank account directly to your baby mother's bank account or something like that. At least there are ways where you can actually track it. But I tell everybody, I saw a lot of times people would pay child support twice. And it says, if you have proof, did the payment happen? Like if you paid a child support payment, I paid my mandatory child support payment of $700. And I also bought $300 worth of groceries. Nobody gonna remember any of that shit that you did off the books. Like, I don't know. I've very rarely seen in court. He did give me $500 when I asked him because I needed new tires for the car and the alternator went bad. Like, none of that stuff is ever remembered. Now, I don't know if the people did it or not. You know how I didn't know? Because they didn't have a damn receipt for it. So anything that you do outside child support it makes sense to have some receipt, have some proof. And just having the receipt necessarily in and of itself isn't proof. But I think, some type of peer-to-peer financial transaction, Cash App, Zelle, bank-to-bank transfer, those are all good ways to really track it and have that kind of paper. Next few things are just mistakes that I've seen people made, okay? And it's always the first two. Well, I say the last two, I always see the same type of individual make it. So it's really not that I see this. The first thing is paying something is better than nothing. A lot of times, and you would think that this is something very simple that everybody, but a lot of times it's not uncommon if the child support order requires a $800 a month payment. If you don't have the $800 to pay, you only have $500. Pay the $500. It's better to pay something than not pay anything. Are you falling behind? Yes. Are you falling in arrears? Yeah, you're gonna have some arrears, but at least it shows some consistency. Plus, a lot of times when a person normally less than what the order is, in most instances that I've been involved in, it was because of reduction of income. Maybe a person at one point had 2 jobs, now they only got 1, or their hours are getting reduced. So in those instances, pay something, paying anything is better than paying nothing. Well, since I can't pay the $800, I'm not going to pay anything. You asking for a world of trouble. Pay what you can. And if it is, in fact, due to a reduction of income, there's a process you can go to get back in court, to have things reevaluated with your new proof of income, and to have those payments adjusted accordingly with your income. So that's a mistake number one. Don't not pay anything. If you can pay something, even if it's not the full amount, make the payment. Now, number 2 and number 3 are things that I see the same type of individual make. Okay, the people who normally make this mistake, I'm gonna tell you the type of people who normally make this mistake. There's normally a young guy in his mid to early 20s, probably in college, probably had his first child. But these are the 2 mistakes I normally see, and these are the quality of people, the type of people who I've seen, who I've represented in these situations, who made this mistake the most. Okay, volunteering to pay an actual higher child support amount. Now, respect to all the guys who want to go above and beyond and give their baby mother a little bit more than what they're required to, but don't do it through the actual child support order. And what I mean by that is, and I've seen this work bad in a lot of ways, but most times what will happen is the child support order would be for $800, right? $800 child support order. What's going on, sis? I appreciate you tuning in. Your video was wild too. I'm gonna actually go check out that channel that you talked about, but I thought it was wild. But yeah, like I said in my comment, they just a fan, wanted to be a customer of yours, wanted to be a client. They wanted to get you to help them with their content. So look at that as the ultimate respect and show of gratitude. But how this normally would happen when people actually pay too much in child support? What will happen is you got this young guy, college, trying to do the right thing, working hard and everything. The court will order a child support payment of like $500. And this guy would be like, nah, I'm doing okay. I want to go ahead and pay $700. And effectively, again, there's nothing wrong if you want to do more. But this always, not always, but most times I've seen this instant lead to a person painting themselves in a corner for when some financial hardship comes along, they won't be able to make that $700 payment. So normally what I would advise, people to do in this situation would be, hey, if the child support order is $500, keep the order at $500. Keep the child support order at $500. If you want to send an extra $200, just go ahead and send the extra $200 as a gift. But that way you don't paint yourself in a corner. So if you can't, if you can make the $500, but you can't pay the extra $200, at least you're not on the books. At least that's not in the actual court order itself for you to pay that. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility as opposed to the alternative. Because the alternative, I've seen it end up where the person ends up being in arrears. The person ends up getting behind. Once they get behind, now you're looking at dealing with incarceration because there's a contempt order out there. And you're looking at potentially having your tax return snatched up or any type of pandemic relief. Remember in the pandemic, everybody was getting checks, but you know who didn't get checks? People who were in arrears on child support. So give yourself a little bit of leverage. Now, the other one is a mistake I commonly see made by younger brothers as well. Putting yourself on child support. Now, I don't know. I've never understood this, but it actually happened quite often where brothers would be like, I'd be like, oh man, I need to get the background information on how this happened. I put myself on child support because I didn't want her. I wanted to be a record of me doing stuff and I'm responsible. And okay. First of all, this is just me. This is just personally me, what I would do in this situation. I'm not putting myself on child support and to prove that I'm responsible or to have a record. If you're giving something and you want a record, there's a bunch of ways you can have a record. There's receipts, there's bank-to-bank transfers, there's the Cash App memo, the Zelle transaction memo. There's a bunch of stuff that you can do to show proof that you are paying something. That's reason number one why I would never put myself on child support if I was in that situation. The other reason that I don't think it's a good thing to put yourself on child support is if your child's mother, if your baby mother didn't put you on child support and you're actually making payments and giving her something every month, if something comes up, let's say emergency come up with the car and instead of $500 a month, you only got $300. Like if you can't make the payment that you all agreed to, the worst case scenario is you're going to get a couple of phone calls, but you'll have a little buffer. You'll have a little bit of time to get back on schedule once you deal with whatever that financial emergency is. Or the other thing, an alternative is if you normally send 5, but you don't got it and you send 3, you could probably work something out. But I personally just never saw the value in putting yourself on child support. It just makes no sense. I've seen people who, I want to get a paternity test done, and if I do it through the child support system, they'll pay for it. I'm like, what? Like, dog, you ain't never watched Maury or none of these paternity shows, DNA Diagnostics. Even I know the name. I don't watch that such. I don't watch those shows so much. But yeah, never put yourself on child support to show that you're responsible or for proof. I just think that that's a bad idea. But that was one of the other things I saw that were quite common. So those are the things that I've seen and the things that you can do to have your child support legally reduced to something that you can afford. Now, I will tell you, of all those, the most important one is the first one, and don't do the last mistake. The first one is the most important. Hire an attorney. Yes, an attorney is going to cost money, but let's just think, if you're overpaying in child support by $100 a month, $100 a month, that's $1,200 a year over an 18-year period. That's a large amount of money that you overpaid because you tried to go in there and handle it yourself. You missed a credit, or you didn't have the income of your baby mother, so the court couldn't properly assess things. So the most important thing is get an attorney, because hey, this video is mutually exclusive. So ladies, this information is valid as well. I'm just speaking to, hey, when I was in child support court, 97.9% of my clients were men. But this information is valuable to both sides. But hey, the best way to avoid these headaches is, one, try to stay out of child support court. That's probably the best way to do it. But I thought those tips would be just some good gems to get. Make sure you talk to a professional in your area when it comes to credits, because all states differs. All states has different rules. And child support court, family law is one of those unique things where the concept you always hear is, we're going to do what's in the best interest of the child. That's the actual the litmus test. What's in the best interest of the child? But who determines what's in the best interest of the child? It's not the mother. It's not the father. It's the trier of fact. It's the judge. So there's always going to be some deference up to the judge. And, it's a cold game out there. Some judges I've seen are great in child support court, and they're really fair. I've seen judges who are fair as hell, and I've seen other judges where I'd be like, God damn, like they just gonna go in and you already know you about to get raked across the coals. So getting an attorney is one of the smartest things you can do. That's the most important of all the stuff I said. The most important is getting an attorney. Now I want to pull this video up, right? And I'm probably going to split this video up and put a chapter in it, because some people just going to just give me the things that you talked about. I'm not really here for the video, but I thought this video was interesting because one of the subscribers, my guy Wolverine, sent me this video, and it was an interesting video. Now, I will tell you, and I think the channel name was Pink Book Lessons, which was where he sent me the clip from. But I found the original clip in this video because, hey, go check out Pink Book Lessons channel. You can find the same video on there with her commentary. Her commentary probably a lot funnier than mine is or going to be. But this video is an interesting video. Now, some parts of it I'm probably going to fast forward through because it's probably about 20-something minutes. But let me lay out the scene here, okay? It's a Texas family law child support proceeding, okay? So you look on the screen, you're going to have the judge, you're going to have the child support coordinator, you're going to have a representative from the Attorney General's office who is calculating all of the baby daddy's money and everything. So this is what I'm laying out the foundation of what you're going to see. Judge, child support coordinator, someone from the Attorney General's office who laying out all of the money and the income and the wages that the baby daddy received for the year so they can make a determination on child support. Then in the corner, you're going to see a little square that's blank with the name. Of course, that's the baby daddy. Then you're going to see somewhere on the screen, you're going to see the person or the beneficiary of the child support, i.e. the baby mother, okay? Now, I'm sure as soon as I hit play, it's going to be really easy to identify the baby mother. But I'm going to go ahead and play this video. I'm going to talk through some portions. I'm going to fast forward through some portions. But this is an interesting video with a guy who, he got a shitload of kids. I'm going to say shitload, but he had at least five. I think he had five, to include this one is 6. He was married at the time. It looks like he got his side piece pregnant. He ends up in court. It's an interesting video that ends with a twist. So let's go ahead, dive in, and take a look at it.
Ron Avery.
How much do you make an hour?
I make $3,500 every 2 weeks, gross. I wish I was making $12,000 a month.
Okay, so this looked like what is the damn show, the Brady Bunch? It's just a bunch of cubes here. Now we look on this screen, right? Okay. What's the Sesame Street song? One of these kids are doing their own thing. One of these kids just doesn't belong. Now, I think we can clearly look and identify who the baby daddy is. There's only two guys on this video, and I don't think it's the Judge Webster. The little circle in the bottom. I think we can easily look and identify who the child's mother or the baby mother, aka baby mother, is in this video. Okay, everybody else is kind of dressed professionally. That lady got a big ass head right there on the left, but everybody else is kind of covered up. So it's fair to assume bottom left is baby daddy, bottom middle with the sports bra on or whatever it is she wearing, she ain't even covered up, is the baby mama. So now they're talking about his income. Okay, I want to lay the foundation for these first few scenes. They're talking about his income. He says he make about $3,500. I think he said every 2 weeks. And then he said, man, I wish I made $12,000 a month. So let's play this. Then we're going to dive back in. We're going to take a pause and dive back in for a second.
Financial specialist. And as part of your job duties, do you have access and information from employers regarding our customers' wages? And do you have that information
I wish we could
for
see his
Mr.
face.
Everett?
Mr. Everett's face.
And so what was his monthly gross?
Monthly gross is
Okay, stop. Before we even, now they about to go into his income and pull out the numbers. Look at this screen. Look at the bottom. Look at the baby mother on the screen. Just look at her face. She wants to know this information so bad, okay? Now, again, hey, this is child support court. The judge makes the finding of fact, but she clearly wants to know this information. She has that's the universal sign of a black woman listening hard as hell, is the way she looked right there. She leaned forward, lips puckered out, ears tuned in and everything. She got the, let me see if this ninja BS in face and everything. So she tuned into what Miss Finch, the financial coordinator, is about to say about his income.
$12,133.
Yo, okay, hold on. Let me back out of this real quick, because I gotta back out this real quick before we do the commentary on that. Like, did you all see the look on her face right there? I don't know if y'all can see the look on her face. So let's put this in the context what happened. The guy said he made about $3,500 a month. When they asked the child support coordinator, not child support coordinator, the person from the AG's office who could break down the finance, pull out how much someone get paid, she said this brother made $12,000 a month. And clearly, by the look of the baby mother face at the bottom, she had no clue that, now, I don't know, she had no clue that this guy that she was knocking boots with made that much money. Let's go back just a little bit to just kind of.
Everett, I just placed on the screen laws of this county.
Let me go back just a little bit.
Now you're changing your mind in regard.
Monthly gross is $23.
Whoa. Let's be honest about it, Mr. Avery. I mean, you testified that you make $3,500 over 2 weeks, but your employer told the state of Texas that you made over $145,000.
Look at her face. She blinking.
That's a lot more. Yeah. That's a lot of weeks. That's not what you said before. Before you said you didn't want back child support in this case because you didn't think that Mr. Avery could afford it. now you're changing your mind in regards to that?
We did talk about she was gonna.
Okay, now this is chopped up. So what happened here, I want to put it in the context. The judge asked if you changed your mind about back child support. Clearly, and there's another long form video where they go through the paternity test, and this sister is shocked when she found out. She was like, "Oh, he is the father." So this is just a big shit show. I mean, it is what it is. The guy's married. He got other kids, but what he's talking about right here, initially, him and his baby mother came to agreement because she was like, okay, he only make $3,500 every 2 weeks. So she said, I don't want back child support. We'll just start it from the day of this court proceeding. But now she heard that this dude make $12,000 a month. She didn't know she was rolling with somebody who, made over six figures. So now she's telling the judge she wants to revisit the arrears because she thinks that he can pay it now. He can't pay it because she knows that he is making more money than what he told her.
Way to back child support for whatever reason. She done changed her mind because of the living conditions. She done waited. She done said she wants the back child support. I don't, God forbid what that's. But anyway, Deja has already moved to Houston.
Hold on. Let me pause this real quick. Let me back out real quick because this is a little too chopped up. Give me 1 second. This is a little too chopped up. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna have to give me 1 second.
That's where you're about to.
All right. I'm back. So, all right. So I got it queued up real quick. Let me go ahead and play this. I had to go straight to the homie's channel. Y'all make sure y'all check out Pink Book Lessons and subscribe. Her commentary, funny as hell. Her commentary is funny as hell. But her video is edited. So take a look.
Mr. Everett, I just placed on the screen a copy of the alleged DNA test results in regards to the child's journey. Is it okay if I see these results?
Yes.
State's Exhibit A is admitted into evidence.
So he is the father?
He clearly had no clue. She was praying like hell that this dude was the father because she had no clue. The fact that she had to ask the judge, so we already know that tells a lot about what's going on in this situation.
That's what the DNA test results show. Yes, ma'am.
You see, that's what happens when you get a 3. She wasn't even 100% sure that he was the father. She seemed more surprised about the positive DNA results.
So let's go fast forward.
How long have you worked there? Now, are you asking for back child support?
Stuff that I don't know. So maybe 2.
It's far too embarrassing that people are out here having babies with people that they don't even know. She doesn't even know how many kids this man has. How can you be so reckless that you lay down with a man that you don't even know, unprotected, and give him access to your home?
Now, are you asking for back child support?
No, I don't want to do the back child support because he said he cannot afford to do the back child support.
You heard that. She said no. She did not want to go after him for back child support. Okay.
So
but watch how fast they.
Where do you work?
I work with Indorama Ventures.
And how work is?
All right, I'm gonna speed it up, but now y'all see the layout. This video is a little bit better. No back child support was the agreement that they mutually set with each other because he said he couldn't afford it. Now, this is when the sister, Miss Finch, it looks like over on the right, is going to break down his monthly income.
Okay, and you don't make any.
They work.
That-
They on shift work.
But almost every person you encounter in the system will talk to you just like that. They have nothing but a bunch of
How often do you get paid?
Bi-weekly. I get twice
Okay.
a month.
And how many other people are on?
Like, eight of my other kids, they are over 8. I mean, I got 2.
Okay, so what she's asking them now is they're diving into how much money he makes. She's asking them how many other kids are on your insurance, and they're also going to ask about how many other children does he have that has child support orders currently, because those credits that we talked about when I was going through those things that you can do, if you have other children that you're paying child support, in a lot of states, those are credits that you can get that could reduce your amount of child support. That's why she's asking about that.
That's under 8. That's 12 and 13.
You're the age of 18.
And I'm just skipping through because I want to get to.
He's been so reckless with his seed that then getting a recipe for financial disaster for a man.
The others, are you ordered by a court to pay child support for those other 3?
Yes.
Okay. And you work for the Office of the Attorney General?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long have you worked for them?
$33.50.
Whoa.
Quarter. No.
I need to misspend.
For that quarter. I'm sorry.
I just heard 3 different figures.
No, I'm sorry. I was trying to think.
What's up with everyone here in numbers? First, you have a man who can't count his kids, and now you have specialists who can't communicate the numbers. Right now, we're looking at an example of the incompetent people that they have running these offices. And on top of their incompetence, most of them are nasty and rude.
For the second quarter of 2020, he made $34,822.58.
And for the third quarter of 2020, how much did he make?
$40,563.71.
So I'm going to tell you what's interesting about this. As this lady is breaking down how much money he made per quarter, it hasn't hit her yet. It hit the baby mother yet that this is a lot of money, because her reaction is kind of changing, but not really. You're not going to really see it until she gets it down into a monthly figure, and then you'll see it. But the biggest thing that you can see from this screen is just problematic is this guy got a little square on the left-hand corner, but nowhere on this does he have an attorney. Everybody here is a representative from the state in some capacity, and his baby mother, which, again, back to rule number 1, you always want to have an attorney for these types of things to make sure you can handle it. But the fact that you don't have a Zoom square with some attorney facing it is a problem.
And for the fourth quarter of 2020, how much did he make?
$31,356.
See, it don't hit her these
First quarter of 21, how much did he make?
$38,858.26.
Oh, there you go. Now it hit her.
So what was his total gross for the last 12 months?
Here it is. This is how much he made for the last 12 months.
Total gross was
So-called public servants. You have the citizens paying for this.
She waiting for that total so bad. It's a mess. She didn't have her numbers together. That is
just to round it off, it was $145,599.
And so what was his monthly gross?
This is it.
Monthly gross is $12,133.
He made $145,000 last year.
They
And as
zoomed
you
in on her
can see by
face.
her face, she didn't realize that she was dealing with a man who was making 6 figures. But hey, that's how it goes when you have
That's
babies
crazy.
from strangers. Ma'am, I'm sure it's a lot I know about him.
All right, so let's pull back from this video a little bit because I'm gonna fast forward through this. So, so what we see here happening. Hey, anybody just joining in? Child support proceeding. Didn't know custody. Now the custody is the gentleman's. Hey, it is you. You the baby pappy. He's the baby's father. The baby mother, who we can clearly look at the squares and identify who the baby mother is. She sounded a little bit shocked, like she didn't know who the father was, but she got verification. They talked about back child support. They had made an agreement. Father and the mother made an agreement, no back child support, because she was under the assumption that he made $3,500 every 2 weeks. Lo and behold, she just found out that this guy makes over $12,000 a month. So now they're going to do a few things. They're going to revisit those arrears because now that she knows how much money he makes, you'd think she ain't going to try to get extra money, which, I mean, technically she's entitled to it because it's based on the income of him and the income of her and other credits and all of those other things that we talked about.
And so were you able to determine what the child support would be, or did you know how many other children he had?
Well, when I spoke with Mr. Everett, the impression that I received was that he had children on another case, that one of those children had emancipated on his other child support case. And then the 2 children that are in the home with him, I was under the impression that those were stepchildren. I didn't calculate those in.
Okay.
I was under the impression that those weren't his biological children. So he only had 2 other children that he's currently paying child support. So that's the basis of my calculations. On the health insurance, he wasn't able to tell me how much he was paying. Yeah.
Let's see if we can.
Okay, so you just have 2 other children that are not living with you.
Stepchildren. Why do you think she would?
I guess she must have misunderstood what I was saying.
So those 2 children that are in your apartment, those that live with you, those are your.
Now they're trying to find out who is his biological children who actually have current child support orders, because there's credits you can get from that, versus stepchildren. Because stepchildren and no child support order, you're not going to get credit for stepchildren because they aren't your biological children in most states. Some states may differ, but in most states, if it's a stepchild, like, okay, that may not be a credit. It just depends on what state you're in. I can only speak from the states that I did child support in.
You said that that you make your gross is $3,500 every 2 weeks. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
But you do make a lot more than that because of whatever additional circumstances you get paid for your company, right?
Yeah, that's like in catastrophic things go on in the area, tornadoes or freezes like happen and stuff like that. So
right now, this brother is pretty much just trying to explain how he had $3,500 every 2 weeks and they came up with about $12,000 a month. Because, he's doing what you think he would try to do. Like, I don't make that much money because he don't want to pay almost $1,500 in child support. So he's saying to the court right now, the reason my income is so high because of extenuating circumstances that occurred that allowed me to make a lot of overtime. Bottom line is the judge is just going to go on the numbers. This is what your income was, regardless of the circumstances in with which you get income. And so he's going to explain that, but that's the conversation right now. So they're going back and forth over money. She's still listening attentively because, she's trying to get that bag.
Well, I mean, let's be honest about it, Mr. Avery. I mean, you testified that you make $3,500 every 2 weeks, but your employer told us that you made over $145,000 last year. That's a lot more than 35. That's a lot more than $3,500 every 2 weeks.
Wow. Well,
here she goes. Wow. Yeah, she had no clue that this guy made that much money. She didn't even fathom it, realize that she was ready to work things out beforehand. But now that she knows the numbers, hey, she's gonna do what she's gonna do. What y'all think she's gonna do? She's gonna try to get a higher child support payment. But there's a twist to this at the end where things are gonna go left field for one of these people real fast.
But I got a letter from my employee stating what I'm saying today.
The problem is, Mr. Haber, is that your employer has already told the attorney general what they paid you last. Ms. Randall,
Yes, sir.
please don't say anything else while I'm talking to Mr. Haber, okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, but told me also that if I needed to show the court a letter, they would write a letter stating that that don't happen here all the time for us in my department to make overtime like that.
Well, I completely understand that, Mr. Haber, but I mean, those were your wages for the last 12 months. Is what your employer told the AG's office, right?
Let's fast forward it a little bit.
Cut your income taxes, Mr. Haber, and
Like, the normal person do.
About $14.25 per month for this one baby. He
Support payment is at $1,425 per month for that one child. Now, this gentleman, and hey, we got to keep it a buck here. It's not all the baby's mother's fault. Because sometimes, fella, I'm going to just be honest. Like, you got to show more responsibility out there. Like, this dude already got about 5 other kids. He got a wife somewhere. Like, man, I'm not saying that, hey, what people do in their relationships is their own business, but be safe about it, be smart about it. But now he wasn't, and now it looks like he's on the hook for about $1,425 a month, which I'm sure that is going to hurt him financially, but that's what the obligation is. Now, let's watch the twist. I'm going to fast forward a little bit because I want y'all to see what this twist is at the end of this hearing.
baby here that he's in court for. That's $100 per month, nearly $40,000 per year in child support payments.
Yes, I had a few questions that I had that I needed answered, if it can be answered. The first question I had was
The first question I had is, where is your shirt? Why would she go to this?
you guys are saying that it's like it's more so. It's like I'm like confused right now.
And let's get this straight. She's not confused. This is where her greed got in her way. 1, she didn't know he was making that much money. 2, she didn't know that she could get $1,400 per month. And instead of saying, okay, let me go ahead and get the $1,400, this is where she changed her mind and wanted more.
Ms. Randall, let me see if I might be able to explain it to you. I don't guess when it comes to the numbers. I just listen to the testimony, and then I base child support on what the evidence is. And the evidence is Mr. Averett earned over $145,000 last year. So while I understand Mr. Averett's concern that he may not make that much money in the future, I don't have anything but the ability to guess at what he might.
And what the judge is saying here is 100% correct. He's going to go by what the numbers are. If the situation and circumstances change, he's going to have to bring it back in court. Hey, baby daddy going to have to bring it back in court with new information regarding his current accurate wages and get things reassessed. And, I'm going to be honest. Like, is she really, is she doing what I would expect 99.9% of women in this situation to do? Yeah, she going to be confused. She going to want the highest amount of money. That's what it is. You know what else she going to want? She going to want back child support now that she know how much money this guy make. And I'm just that shocked. If you watch this, you think that, oh man, we had an agreement. You shouldn't want child support. If you think that she was going to stick to this based on the information she got about how much money this brother made, hey, that's just ridiculous thinking. She's doing what anybody would do. Not anybody, but what most people would do in that situation. That's just what it is. You got to know what you're dealing with. Mr. Everett, you got to know what you was rocking with, and this is just kind of what it is at this point.
Make in the future. I know what he made last year, and I can base child support on what he made last year because that's what's been reported.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I can't set child support on what might happen in the future because I don't have any idea.
I had wanted to start over and be closer to.
Okay, let me rewind it because I think we missed
In that
something.
last year. So, I have
Yeah,
another
so you saying I'm,
Mr.
so
Avery,
you saying I have a question.
Mr. Avery, I didn't ask you any more questions. Please don't interrupt me when I'm talking to Miss Randall.
I'm sorry.
Miss Randall, you said that you wanted to move to Houston. Why do you think you should be allowed to go to Houston?
Oh, let me run it back real quick.
So while I understand that that's not even the max, because he makes more money than that. I'm only going to set child support on the $9,200 a month net that he's reporting from his employer. He actually makes more than that, and I don't know where the money goes. That's none of my business. But I know his employer reported more money than that last year.
Yes, sir.
So, I have
Yeah,
another
so you saying I'm,
Mr.
so
Avery,
you saying I have a question.
Mr. Avery, why do you think you should be allowed to go to Houston?
So baby mother, hey, she got her on the verge of getting over $1,400 a month in child support after she found out this brother make more than 35, 32, whatever the hell he said, $100 a month. He make over $12,000 a month. And so now the question is, and this is a unique point too. I was talking to one about this today. Shout out to my guy Wolverine who sent me this video, and she wants to relocate from where she's at currently to another city that's like 3 or 4 hours away. Just think about that logically and why that's problematic. You have a child supporter to pay. You have a visitation schedule. You can't just up and leave and move from one place to another place because it impacts the other parent's ability to see the child. That's a whole process that has to be determined by the court. And if you do move, it could reduce or increase child support depending on whatever the facts and circumstances are. So that's what they're talking about right now. And this is where the twist is about to come.
I had wanted to start over and be closer to my family.
She want to move to be closer to her family,
out here
to H-Town.
As well. But the family that I'm closer to is out there in Houston.
And you see them doing this over and over again. She's in court.
Then that's going to have a negative impact on Mr. Avery to be disabled attorney because based on his work schedule, he might find it difficult trying to go back and forth to see the child if he has to go all the way to Houston to pick up the child. You understand?
Yes, sir.
So that's the reason why there's a rule in place that prohibits you from doing exactly what it is that you want to do. If you had some great reason for moving to Houston, if somebody had offered a child, I would give you a discount on the child support based on the fact that you would have to absorb the travel costs. Would you be willing to allow that to happen?
Yes, what would how much the discount is talking about?
So the judge essentially just told this brother, hey, if you're cool with her moving, we'll discount the child support because you're going to be eating travel costs, traveling 3 to 4 hours to get from wherever the hell you at to Houston. And so this is where it's about to go real left for one of these people, and it's actually a funny end.
If you were going to spend time with Journey, it'd probably be pretty substantial since you're going to have to be driving about, I don't know, if you live in Port Arthur, depending on what part of Houston she moves to, it could be as much as 3 or 4 hours back and forth.
And look at her getting antsy. They don't ever want to be reasonable.
She don't want to lower that child support. She is stay where she is.
That's something that you think you might be amenable to, Ms. Randall?
I want to move, but I don't see the problem is right now is I'm doing this for my daughter. This is just
she just talking.
3, right?
Almost 3. Her birthday's in August.
August, yeah.
They always get me with it.
$135. Do you think that's what I said I would set child support at?
man should find himself believes that she's negotiating a pretty good paycheck every month. She's all smiles.
I had a few other questions.
Okay, now this is interesting because now, damn, that's a terrible time to pause it. She looked like a sea bass. Now, right here is she's gonna inquire about the backboard. At first, she was like, no. Now she wanted child support. Keep your eye, because I hate clerks like this, and this is common. And I actually give this judge props for directing this clerk to stop nodding your damn head. Like, don't try to answer for the person who is interceding. Let them make their own damn decision. But I would see this done a lot sometimes. And if it happened on a case that I was working on, I'd be like, man, call them out. Isn't that nobody's in it's nobody's on the state behalf job to tell somebody what the hell they should and shouldn't agree to.
I had a few, not any other questions. So he do have visitation, like, he can come. Do I have to?
When you have a child that's born in this county.
No, that's the problem that you have when you make the decision to become a baby mama. You end up in a situation.
The question I had was, so I have to stay here. Are you guys gonna ask for it? Is it her moment you guys said for him to be?
The child, Miss Randall, but I can't force him to be a good dad. I can force him to pay the child support, and I can force him to pay the medical.
How the young lady that I spoke to earlier, she asked me to do back pay.
Now look, at first she was like no back pay, but now she know how much this brother want. She gonna go after the back pay, which is her legal right. So again, the moral of this story, fellas, is have some penal responsibility and her damn attorney. But I like how the judge chastised the lady on the left, because it pisses me off and it happens a lot in court. I see it happen a lot where people on the side of the state is nodding their head or giving gestures or insinuating things that an individual should do instead of letting their own damn decision. That's one of my pet peeves.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I pick a certain amount of back pay that I would like to do?
No, ma'am. Do you think that Mr. Hayward should pay you retroactive child support?
Yes. Yes.
But that's not what you said before. Before you said you didn't want back child support in this case because you didn't think that Mr. Hayward could afford it. Now you're not in regard to that?
You see her nodding her head and shit?
Ms. Brown-Zito, I don't need any comments from you whatsoever in regards to this case. If you continue to make facial recognition movements in regards to this video, I'm going to remove you from my courtroom. Are you saying now that you've changed
So
your mind?
now she want back pay, but let's get to the twist at the end of this. Get this shit too long.
Can I speak now? Or
I was just making sure.
I moved here.
So she stated she wanted to move to Houston. Her baby father saying, Your Honor, she actually already moved to Houston. Now this is where it gets interesting.
Deja has already moved to Houston. And I disagree with the fact that I disagree with the fact that she's already.
I need to get this addressed right now. Is that true, Miss Randall? Have you already moved to Houston?
I have, and then I have not moved here.
That's a pretty simple question, and it only requires a yes or no answer. Do you or do you not live in Houston?
No, I don't. I don't stay there.
What is your current address?
My current address is 3.
Just give me the city and the street.
Okay, 311 Drive.
And where is that? What city?
Houston, Texas, Harris County. Houston, Harris.
This is a good edit. The homie did a good job editing this. That's funny.
Thank you, Ms. Randall. Is there anything further from the state of Texas?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Overstreet, your case is dismissed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
There will be no child support. There will be no medical support. There will be no finding that Mr. Averett is the father. The mother has moved and changed residences to Harris County. And if a new lawsuit will have to be filed in this case, it will have to be filed in Harris County.
Can you
Up there asking all these questions, being unreasonable.
So I thought that was a fitting way for this to end. So they went through all of this damn nonsense and all of this BS. And she was about to she already did put her foot in her mouth. She said, "Oh, I don't live in Houston." And the judge asked, normally in those situations, right before someone is about to lie, the judge asks a question, he'll normally say, "And remember, you're under oath." So I was shocked that he didn't use that, but that's normally the phrase. But she said, "I don't live in Houston. What's your address?" "Houston, Texas." Is dismissed, no jurisdiction. So this brother has won the battle, but he's probably not going to win the war. But I thought that was an interesting video, because a lot of times when you go into child support court, like this guy did with no attorney, just trying to talk, he couldn't even get a word in edgewise because the judge was like, "If I'm not talking to you, you shouldn't be responding. Get a goddamn attorney." Yes, it costs, but bro, you make $12,000 a month. Even if you're living paycheck to paycheck, don't pay something to get the attorney, because the attorney is going to bring you some immediate value just to make sure you're paying what's fair. That's the bottom line. You just want to pay what's fair and what you're entitled to pay in accordance with the law. So this brother won the battle because the case got dismissed, but he's probably going to lose the war, because if she refiled that case in Harris County, you know what's going to happen? Hey, the same thing. This dude is going to go through the ringer unless he gets an attorney and they identify some more credits. But, it's a cold game out there, fellas. Child support is a cool game. Like I said, 97% of the people I represented in child support cases were men. So that's just kind of where I see it at. Could this stuff apply to everybody? Yes, it could. But, fellas, this information is really designed for you, because that's what I've seen in my experience. The other thing is you got to be responsible. You got to be responsible. Bro had 5 kids, a wife, and you didn't think your paycheck was going to come out. Oh no, it's going to come out. And there's 2 things that's going to put. One, she didn't realize that this guy made that much money. He lowballed it. He was like, "Hey, I only make $3,500, $3,200 every 2 weeks." So because he lowballed his income, him and his baby mother made this agreement that it will only be X amount with no back payment. But once the state get a hold of it, they're going to do their due diligence to find out your income. They're going to pull tax records. Most states have an agency that can show your wages that were reported quarterly, especially for most people, because most people are W-2 employees. So again, this video wasn't for somebody who might be a lowlife out there and screw them kids, I don't want to pay nothing. Y'all are pieces of trash if you're a lowlife. But if, hey, you want to do the right thing, but you want to make sure your paying was fair, flip it back to the beginning of this video. I'll probably put a bookmark in the video, a timestamp, to where I went over the things that you should do. The most important thing to that was hire an attorney and don't do anything stupid. Don't put yourself on child support. Don't volunteer to pay more child support than what the court found you were responsible for. If you want to pay something extra, hey, pay the extra, but do it on the side. If you do those things, the attorney being the most important, you'll find yourself in a good position to move forward. Because, man, that shit is a cold game. And when you got child support payments, I've seen it. It impacts your ability to live. Because let's keep it a buck. Most people, like 70% of the population, is living paycheck to paycheck, regardless of how much money you make. So there's a strong possibility that somebody who's making $40,000, somebody who's making $120,000, they probably living paycheck to paycheck, even though they're making a shitload of money, or they may be making more money than the average person. So because they don't have a lot of room, a lot of leverage in the first place, that child support payment is going to just put them in a tough financial situation. So, there's a cold game out there. Go in there, lawyer it up if you got to go to child support court. If you got to go to any court outside of small claims court, hell, even if you got to go to small claims court, depending on the amount, it may be worthwhile to have an attorney. But definitely don't go in there naked, because you don't know all the things that'll be credited in your favor. You don't know what credits will apply, and you need an expert to give you that nuance. Don't just do your Google searches, hire somebody, because you want to make sure the numbers is right. And if the numbers aren't right, and then you're overpaying in child support, you're putting yourself in a position to where if you have a financial hardship because you're overpaying because you missed a credit that you should have got, now you may be at risk of being incarcerated or having your license revoked. And this is how dumb the child support system is. I've seen a guy who's a truck driver by trade who got behind on child support but was still making some payments. And because he was in arrears, the brother got incarcerated. No, before he got incarcerated, the first thing that the court did was suspend his license. What the hell do you think is going to happen to someone who's a truck driver if your license gets suspended? Now, his child support payment was like $1,000 a month. He was paying like $700 because he had some crazy emergency to his truck he had to repair. He just didn't have the extra cash, so he was making some payments, but he dug a hole over a certain amount of month, and he was trying to catch up after making these truck repairs and all of this stuff. And they was like, oh, because you're in arrears a certain amount, and they just grew over time, he was never able to catch up. They suspended his license. What the hell are you going to do for income if you're a truck driver with no license? Like, that's like having a gun with no bullets, you know what I mean? So what do you think happened 6-8 months later? The arrears just grew and grew. Next thing you know, he's looking at custody because he's held in contempt. And this is the other part, even if you are held in contempt and you go into custody, just because you go into custody, you going into custody for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever it is, it doesn't impact the arrears on your child support in most cases. It's not like you doing that time, hey, for every day we're going to give you $100 off your back child support that you owe. Nah, that's not how it works in most places. So, definitely go in, lawyer it up so you can handle it and make the right moves. I appreciate everybody tuning in at night. Hey, fellas, be responsible. Ladies, be responsible. Fellas, especially be responsible, because, hey, child support court is a cold game. I told you, raked over the coals is normally what happened to a lot of fellas who go through that process. So definitely be smart on how you're moving, what you're doing, and lawyer up in the event if you got to deal with the process. Y'all take care. Be blessed. Peace.